Today we're gonna cringe together. We're gonna look back at a video that I made in the first year that I decided to become a full-time photographer, and we're going back to when I was 25 and I had just made the decision to become a full-time photographer. And I was delusional at this point. I'm still delusional. It's fine. At this point, I did feel like I was a really good photographer. In the last 6 years, I really have tried to elevate myself as a photographer, get better, really hone in my skills. I'm kind of dreading watching this video that I titled How I Became a Photographer, the full story. We're going to see what I still agree with, what I disagree with, if I have any ad-lib, anything to change. But please join me as we cringe together, because nothing is better than watching yourself just be stupid. Okay. Why doesn't Instagram pause when I press pause? I don't know what the hell I'm wearing here. I'm not gonna lie. I still don't know what I'm wearing 90% of the time. My hair will always be a mess. Some things are consistent, and me looking a mess is the first thing that is consistent. Oh, okay. Maybe I should also mention, like, where I am in my photography journey right now, okay? So when I made this video, I was 25, and I had just graduated from college, and I was I was beyond lost. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I hadn't met Juan. I was still like over a year away from meeting Juan. I had gotten 2 degrees because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, and by the time that I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna graduate soon, I decided to add another major. So I have my degree in Spanish, language and literature, and in business administration with a concentration in marketing. What matters is my state of mind when we're gonna watch this video. I was lost. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I've always loved photography. Let me see if I can make this work. And you know, a little dream might have come true, because here I am 6 years later. My husband and I have created this beautiful photography business that revolves around quinceañeras. We're teaching next year, 2025. It's going to be our debut as educators in photography. So we're going to be teaching at WPPI. We're doing a tour with Masterclass. Like, just where I am now and where I was 6 years ago, it's so crazy. It's good to sometimes look back, because you feel like you're working so hard and you feel like it's not really going anywhere, and then these big moments like getting the opportunity to teach at WPPI, you're like, oh shit, like this is something big, like this is something that people work towards. I remember going to my first WPPI, I remember sitting in the audience and wanting to be up there, and like we get that opportunity in a few months, so I really hope I don't mess it up. This is good, even though I will cringe. I know how I was at this point. I know who I was at this point and who I am now, and it's good. It's good to see this progress. So anyway, I digress. I'm so sorry that I am already talking a lot. I talk too much in general, but we're gonna look at what 25-year-old Abby was thinking.
Everybody, how's it going? My name is Abigail and I'm a photographer in Sacramento, California. I'm here to talk about my journey as a photographer and how I really started, because I did not just pick up a camera yesterday. This was a very long process, and I'm still learning so much. I'm nowhere near like expert, amazing level or anything.
See, I wasn't I wasn't delusional. Like, I knew I wasn't an expert.
Anything like that, but I have learned quite a bit in the last solid like 8 years of doing photography. I just scratched my chin. My first camera, my very first camera, I got that camera when I was 10 years old. Do like a time rewind to 2004. I was a very adorable 10-year-old. I really love photography because my dad had, you know, his own cameras and camcorders, and you know, I'd always steal them and stuff. So he decided it's time for me to have my own little digital camera, and this is like beginning of like the digital camera being kind of the norm for people.
Okay, so with that digital camera, my dad bought it for me because I would steal his camera and I would steal his camcorders, and I would with tape, you know, like when you film a tape, I would tape over some of the stuff that he would record, and he got upset at me. So he was like, here's your own digital camera, And it literally took like 10 pictures.
Right, so my friends and I would take pictures all the time on this little thing. That camera lasted me a few years. When the Kodak died, right, and went to camera heaven, as many cameras do, I was about 13, saved up my money and bought an Olympus point and shoot camera, and that thing was with me everywhere for whatever reason.
Why am I explaining how to take a MySpace picture?
That camera from 13 to 16, because at 16, I saved up some money and bought I
had a quinceañera and I got a lot of money from that because people gift you money, and I was able to buy a camera through that. I didn't save up any money. I saved up the money that I had for my birthday party. I don't know why I lied. Or maybe I just wanted it to seem like I worked hard, but like I was 16. What was I doing? I had a quinceañera. So, and now I take pictures of quinceañeras.
Nikon 3000, and that was my first like DSLR kind of camera, and I was super excited because to me, like, oh my gosh, the quality of the photos are so good. I mean, compared to my Olympus point and shoot, yes, it was. And for like the longest time, people were arguing that film was better than digital, and for a long time it was, because digital was new technology and, you know, stuff didn't look that good.
The other thing about this camera specifically, I remember looking at the pictures, because anytime that you're buying a camera, they'll always show you high-end professional images to sell these cameras. And I remember seeing those pictures and being like, I'm gonna take the best photos ever with this camera, because I'm gonna get this camera and it's gonna just take pictures like that. And I got that camera and I did not take pictures like that.
It's just like oh my gosh, my baby. And I would also take that camera around. That was like the first camera that I actually started taking pictures of clients, you know, just like family who wanted to get their picture taken. And to me, like, it was just the coolest thing to be able to take pictures of people, and they would give me like $20.
That's true. I would get paid $20. I got paid $50 one time. And it was like that for a long time. And my picture sucked. I shouldn't have been charging any money for that.
That same year, I started taking photography classes at my high school, and that was all film photography, and I was shooting on a Minolta. So really understanding like the fundamentals and where photography actually came from, appreciating the fact that I could take hella pictures on my digital camera, and I could only take 20 pictures on my film camera, and understanding how photographers really struggled with that a long time ago. That was hard.
I don't even know what I'm saying. I think I just talk just to talk.
This was all just a hobby. I was never in my head like, I want to be a photographer when I grow up.
This is true. Actually, I remember my photography teacher telling me that there is no career in photography anymore. I remember telling him I really want to be a photographer for National Geographic, and he told me there are no more jobs for National Geographic because they don't hire photographers, they hire freelancers. I don't know why I like stupidly trusted adults at 18. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but I was very gullible.
Really liked photography, and I wanted to learn more about it because I genuinely liked it. I'm a senior in high school now. I get a call from one of my teachers, and he's like, hey, I heard you like to take pictures.
Shout out to Mr. Wu, the one teacher with photography that really nurtured and planted the seed of photography knowledge in my brain. If it wasn't for Mr. Wu, I don't think I would have been a photographer. I wouldn't have continued it. I think I would have given up because I have not great experiences with adults introducing me into photography. In general, the things that I was told that really did not motivate me. So I hope to be somebody different in the photography industry as a teacher to motivate, you know, young women or men to, if I can motivate whoever, if they want to pursue this as a career, to take it seriously and to be as good as they possibly can.
I do like to take pictures. I said, well, how would you like to be the yearbook photo editor? I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It's like, it's cool, you'll learn. And so I accepted the job. Never had any sort of education or any sort of experience with photojournalism, but
this was the summer between my junior and senior year. He did call me and told me that another photographer recommended me to him. Her name is Raquel, and she was the photo editor the year before me, and she was great. And she told him that I liked taking pictures, and I had him as my freshman year English teacher, and I was scared shitless of him because he was really strict. So when Mr. Wu called me in the summer, I'm like, oh my god, I was still like freshman year, like, I was still scared of him, but then he ended up becoming, just like a great mentor, and he was not scary at all, and I just, yeah, I adore him. So, yeah, shout out Miss Rue, and shout out to Raquel, because without her, I wouldn't have gotten that position.
But, I mean, he said I got to take pictures, and I heard that he had cool cameras, so I was on board. The Nikon D700, the D3, the D2. I was really falling in love with these more professional cameras, and just the quality obviously was so much better than the D3000. That's where I really fell in love with sports photography. I was also at that time in my second year of film photography, and it was kind of like also incorporating digital photography. It was incorporating Photoshop. I was in a graphic design class, and I really freaking fell in love with Photoshop.
In my senior year of high school, I was on Photoshop way more than I was actually doing any sort of homework or essays or anything like that. I was obsessed.
So, this is where the beginnings of, future Abby were, being put into like the foundation and stuff. And I just was obsessed with learning anything with photography. I was obsessed with learning anything in graphic design and anything with Photoshop. And so I was on Photoshop probably, and I'm not exaggerating, about 5 hours a day as a high school student. Everybody else was experiencing high school and, having a good time at these football games. I mean, to me, all I wanted to do was take pictures of it. So I was the person with the big ass camera taking pictures of people. And to me, like, that was more special than actually experiencing it.
I feel like by taking pictures and being there with a camera, I'm more in the moment because I'm observing things for the camera that I think you kind of would overlook. As a teenager, it's odd because instead of participating with everybody else, I was really just observing on the outside a little bit more, so it wasn't bad.
My mentor, who was my photo teacher, he was a sports photographer, and so I learned everything that I could from him. Cool. So, what's next?
I'm always out of breath. And this still happens. Like, I will start talking so much that I forget to breathe. But it's funny that I leave it in. It's funny that I left it into this final edit.
What's next? I graduated high school. Woohoo! I got my first job after high school while I was going to community college at a photo studio. I learned what it's like to do grunt work and photography. So,
grunt work is a very nice way of saying what I did. Grunt work is very nice. My title was editor, and I would just be in this dungeon after school because I would go to community college in the morning and then I'd be there in the evenings, and I was just in a dungeon basically for hours, just staring at the same pictures over and over.
I went from being on site, taking pictures, doing the sports photography, like really being immersed in photography, doing all the Photoshop stuff, to working at a photo studio where I would sit there for 4 or 5 hours, move people's heads into the center of the picture.
I will elaborate on that because that is a little bit weird. This photo studio that I worked at right out of high school, my job as the editor was to essentially, move everybody's head into the center. And why that is because this photo studio, they mostly had contracts with schools, so they would do all of the yearbook photos. And I don't know why, but a lot of the photographers that he would hire just could not get the kids' heads in the center, even though I remember that the viewfinder or something, I don't know how he did it, but you were able to, it had a circle as to where the person's head would go, and the photographer would just never do it right. So then I would have to sit there and like make sure everybody's head was perfectly aligned, because you can tell in a yearbook if it's not, because everybody's supposed to be really uniform. So I would do that for hours. It would easily be like 1,000 students during like that season where you had to do a bunch of yearbook pictures, and I was the only editor that was there. Really soul-sucking work. A fun little story about working here. I was the person that had to remove blemishes. So this has gotten me very good. I mean, I don't have to do it anymore because of AI, but when I had to edit out blemishes, this is like so horrible, but the owner of the photo studio would have me be in charge of removing the pimples off of the kids, especially like teenagers, middle school, you get a lot of acne, and parents would pay extra money to have their kids' acne removed, and I would take my time, removing the acne. And the owner came in and saw me editing. He was like, "What are you doing? Why are you taking so long?" And I'm like, "Well, they paid for the acne edit." And he was like, "You get 30 seconds per image, and if whatever you don't get in 30 seconds, move on. It doesn't matter." And I just remember being like so shocked, because I'm like, they paid for the edit. He was like, it's not my fault that their kids are ugly. And I mean, when I tell you that this job was like, it was horrible work. Like, I never want to be a boss like this. Bad experience, but good lesson at the
stuff. Unfortunately, I had to move on from that job because
I got fired.
So left the photography studio, and really after that, photography became a hobby. And I mean, I kept taking pictures and didn't.
That photography studio killed my love and passion of photography for a bit, and I did not want to touch a camera for a good while. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to look at Photoshop. I didn't want to look at a photo for like a good year. So it did take a long time for me to go from working there. I think I was like 19 when I stopped working there, and I picked up photography. I think I was like 23. It was a long time.
It stopped with the love of photography. It just wasn't a priority like it was obviously when I was a senior in high school. For my 22nd birthday, I got a Nikon D7000 for my gift, and it was really wonderful. And oh my gosh, I was in love with the camera over again, and I was taking pictures of everything. And after I had that camera, I was able to book a couple more clients, get some more stuff in my portfolio, learn, how to do all the photography stuff. A good thing about working for the photo.
The fact I book clients at this stage is criminal. I really should return the money to the people.
Just had a few clients, a lot of them, it was family, and thank God that I'm Mexican and I have a huge family because
this is very true. A lot of my family were my clients when I first started.
I always had people to practice on. Yeah, so I was
and they were so patient because I was really bad. So yeah.
After taking pictures for a while, I was noticing that quality of my pictures where I wanted it to be, it wasn't there with the 7000. It wasn't there with the 7000.
It wasn't there with the 7000 because I was not good. It wasn't the camera.
Anymore. I wanted it to be at another level, and my brother was letting me use his Sony A7. Freaking fell in love with the camera. It was just, and I was a die-hard Nikon fan, like from the beginning. I was using Nikons from when I first started with DSLRs to, that point where I was, with the 7000. Thought I would never leave Nikon, and I'd buy another Nikon again, but the Sony A7 I fell in love with it, so I purchased my own. That's where
I still shoot with the same camera that I bought when I first graduated college when I was 25. This is the camera that I built my whole entire career on. This and Juan's Nikon Z6. So it's not just the Sony. Yeah, this is the same Sony A7 Mark III or whatever. I really don't know anything about specs, but this took me from this point to the point that I'm at now. There was 0 upgrades because I had no money. Yeah, this little camera right here, my friends. Like I said, it wasn't the camera, it was the person behind it. Built my career. Yeah.
I am now with my Sony A7, my camera transformation, and my photography transformation. Kind of the backstory of where I kind of started. And like I said, I'm still learning a lot. I'm learning every day. Every time I have a photo shoot, I'm trying new things. I'm always looking at, pictures of other photographers and try to get inspiration as to how to pose people or how to try new things with lighting or try different things with Photoshop. I feel like I'm always a student, and I think that's the beauty of photography is that you're always learning, and I don't think that you'll ever be content with your work. I can see the growth from when obviously I first started at 10 years old to now being 25.
And even now at 31, I see the growth. So I hope it keeps happening because this is, should I do this again in another 6 years? And I'm just gonna be like, girl, what were you doing with your camera?
And just the biggest leap from when I first started taking pictures for clients 8 years ago as to where I am now. That's my photo story. If you like the video, give it a big like, comment on it.
Aw, so sweet. I got a total of 20 likes and 3 comments. This makes me feel good. It's weird to look back at myself 6 years ago. So yeah, who I was at that point. I mean, I know because I can just tell, just because I know myself. I was really insecure, but then I wanted to put on the face of I'm so confident. And it was scary being in front of a camera, putting myself on social media. I'd never done that before. just, yeah, like the fear behind my eyes of like, just keep smiling and don't breathe and you'll be fine. But wow, the growth is huge. I think that it's so good to look back at your old cringy self every once in a while to see where the growth has gone. If I could talk to myself now at 25, if I was able to go back in time and be like, girl, just for dear life, and just keep going and just keep learning and get your head out of your own ass and just get your ego out of the way. And yeah, as soon as you do that, you'll be able to learn so much more. So I'm still there. I feel like I thought I knew a lot here, and now I feel like I know less. I really do. I feel like I'm still a beginner. I feel like there's just levels to it, you know? So compared to these really incredible photographers that are award-winning, that have just these incredible portfolios who've been shooting for 25, 30 years, like, they see me and it's like a baby, you know? Like, oh, coming out of the womb. I just, I hope that I can make myself proud in the next 6 years and build on the portfolio that I currently have. It's so nice that I got to take a little walk down memory lane, so thanks for doing that with me. I had a series on my Instagram where I was like talking about different parts of photography, and most of it I just remember Googling beforehand and then just trying it out. I think it'd be cool to actually teach you guys stuff that I actually know now that I don't have to Google. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for cringing with me. Leave it a like, leave it a comment, tell me something cringy that you did. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.